So as I was mentioning in part one, Jackie, this woman who's no longer with us, was just talking about how she had this manipulation of her thoughts. Matter of fact, as I was doing part two, I was removing some videos from my past on my phone, and there was a screenshot of an ad that I took of a father and a child. I think it was like a for glasses or something like that. And you see, this kid is like 10 years old, and she does this thing with her father. It's very wholesome, but for me, they're doing things to make me perceive this kid in a sexual way. This is the non-stop things they do to me. They can manipulate your brain in this disturbing, as she mentioned, Mariana, in these disgusting ways of perceiving. This perception is so perverted, but toward children. And then try to make you feel guilty in this disgusting, the guilty for the things they do to me. It's so nasty. But going back to Jackie, this is a transgender woman who described exactly what's happening to me, because I too have people who are surrounding me doing these things to me. I don't know how they're doing it in regard of what technology. Oh, I know it's synthetic therapy, but this technology has the ability to manipulate my brain. Now, I'm the people surrounding me. I don't know if they're the ones specifically doing this thing to me, but they are participating in it, participating in the my targeting. Now, I don't know if they're the ones specifically pressing the buttons in regard of how I'm getting manipulated, or they're just kind of aiding it in a sense of like jumping in and doing their noise campaign and try to make me feel guilty for the manipulation they make me have. So it's what they do, um, and it's just nasty. And you know, this is not the it's not the only thing they do to me. I don't even want to go to, because Jackie in the next part, right? She says something about, I don't deserve this thing. I never raped a child, I never molested, and I never killed. These people, when they talk about me as a child, right? When they make me think of what I did as a kid, they try to exaggerate what I did as a child. They try to make it sound like I molested a child or raped a child. The truth is, I did something to myself as a kid. That's still embarrassing, but it's not what they wish it was. So this trash torture children. But you're gonna hear this later. Let me go bring up another testimonial that show how pedophilia centric they are, and how they manipulate the brain in these disgusting ways, and then try to make you feel subscriptive, or wanting you to subscribe to these manipulations of thoughts that comes any ways, just anyhow they want it. Boom, disgusting pedophilia. If I look at a child, they will make me have this disgusting reaction. It is non-stop. And then they try to scare you into accepting these things by telling you how you're going to be framed. And you're going to be framed in these pedophilia ways that is commonly done by them, by either implanting child porn, or have children saying that I did something to them. But this disgusting thing with child porn is going to be, I'll bring that thing back again, because you're going to hear the issues happening. Now, listen to this.
Also often see highly disturbing pornographic images and videos, including highly disturbing pedophilia type of images and videos when I close my eyes.
The same woman who says that when they make her smell baby powder or baby diapers, and sometimes combine it with the pedophilia type of torture, she also said that sometimes when she's sleeping, when her eyes are closed, they are implanting child, like making have pedophilia like images in her mind when she closes her eyes. This is the things they do. It doesn't even end there. There's this mother. Oh, I'm sorry I reacted this way. As I'm looking down, I have the picture of a man who died because of this mass shooting that happened in October, I think 26th. And I gave a GoFund. I donated in a GoFund for the burial of this man, and to thank the people who donated, the family sent a picture of him and his little 2-year-old baby. It's so sad. But what they're doing now to counter this, they are forcing me to have this disgusting reaction toward this 2-year-old. It's the nasty things they do to me. It is so nasty. But listen to the story of this woman who talks about how she's forced to have sexual reaction toward children.
At the time, they were all little, even though a few days after I summoned, changing in the old ways, they decided to get me in any. I cannot repeat it in this vlog, you know what I mean. So, that I was petting him, I felt strange, in the sense of the word. I thought, this is strange, and then afterwards that strange sensation continued. Then in that moment I realized that was impost. So I thought, look at this losers, don't know how to put me down, and they are doing this. So I told them that I know what you are trying to do, and I started laughing. And then I said again out loud, you'll never take my will, ASS. So just to show them that I meant what I said, I kept playing with my dog, and even though that attacks continue, I don't let them get me. Today, they continue with the programming of a perversion, but this time they are aiming at the youths. A people, better said young people, also children and homosexuals.
So, this is a woman. The first seconds or so you heard something about her children who were tortured too. But you hear her start talking about her dog. As she was petting her dog, they start making her feel some sexual stimulation, some weird feelings, sensations. And she was like, oh, I know what you guys are trying to do. And she left. She was laughing. It's like, oh, I know what you guys are trying to do. Ignore them. It's like, I know what you guys are trying to do. It's not going to work. And she continued petting her dog. Then these sensations, which you call this program perversion, start to be aimed toward people, young people, children, and homosexual. I want to highlight children here because they started forcing her to get stimulations and sensation toward children. That's the things that they do. This is like this become like you hear the pattern here. Oh, by the way, the child that they're forcing me to get the stimulation toward, the mass shooting that happened and as I'm saying, they try to do something. They rewire my brain in so many disturbing ways that even when I'm talking, they can do these things that disturbs me because they've rewired it to experience in a nasty way with my tongue. It's so nasty. But the mass shooting that happened in October 26th, I think, 2023. This mass shooting.
Last week, in the New York Times, I'm Michael Navarro. This is Daily. Today, the mass shooting that occurred in Maine last week, killing 18 people, was the country's deadliest of the year. It may also have been one of the most avoidable.
You heard that. This is the mass shooting I'm talking about. This was done by a target individual. How do I know that? Listen to this.
Army reservist.
Many months.
I mean, the first time when the local police are really made aware that this guy is a concern is about 5 months ago in May when his ex-wife and teenage son go to a school resource officer, and the school resource officer calls down a sheriff's deputy to speak with the family. And in that interview, the teenage son and the ex-wife say that he has started to hear voices, he started to be increasingly paranoid and angry.
So you hear that his son was saying that they start hearing voices. Right? Now, schizophrenia is real. There's actually people with schizophrenia. But this man was 40 years old and started hearing those voices. And guess what those voices were saying? They were saying some derogative things to him, such as this.
An annual training exercise, and there's a very concerning incident that takes place. They're all hanging out together at a motel, and he starts accusing them of calling him a pedophile. This is one of his paranoid delusions that comes up repeatedly.
This is the derogative things they like to say to target individual. This is commonly said. If you go look into that target individual testimony, you're going to hear a lot of that. Specifically. So I have no doubt this man is a target individual. I have zero doubt. He was a 40-year-old man who started hearing voices, and those voices were calling him a pedophile. You know, schizophrenia doesn't start this late. And then the same things that others have said is what he's saying. So you got to understand that there's a clear pattern of what they do. And it's disturbing. And the reason why this is happening is because we're, like you heard in the initial part, we're test subjects. Which they even implement that toward women and children. Well, you already know women, but children too. Listen to this bioethics committee. In 2011, Obama created this committee. This is for any human subjects testing and the ethics that needs to be aligned for those kind of testing. And this woman here addresses this committee, talks to this committee, and this is what she says.
Ms. Catherine Nestor.
My name is Catherine Nestor, and I'm from Pennsylvania. This commission has spoken of a long history of abuse of the human research subject. Although no one mentioned MKUltra today, President Clinton recently apologized for this. My young child and I have been used as non-consensual test subjects. We have been subjected to COINTELPRO-like stalking, remote neural monitoring, and electromagnetic torture, resulting in psychological and physical damage. And I won't go into the details of that because I have 4 pages written in here that is very similar to Connie's testimony. Please do not wait 70 years to investigate this. I asked Dr. Amy Gutman to begin today. There is new work for the Commission for Human Subject Protection on our shores. And please give us a dramatic response, Susan, and please give us a congressional hearing.
Now, her name is Catherine Nestor. Please look it up. You will see that this woman looks like she's been broken down. But let me break down what she said.
Full test subjects. We have been subjected to have been used as no one mentioned MKUltra today. President Clinton recently apologized for this.
So now she starts saying her young child
And I
and her
have been used as non-consensual test subjects.
been used as test subjects.
We have been subjected to COINTELPRO-like stalking.
COINTELPRO like stalking, like it's gang stalking.
Remote neural monitoring.
Remote neural monitoring.
And electromagnetic torture, resulting in
and electromagnetic torture, resulting in
psychological and physical
damage.
And I won't go into the details of that because I have 4 pages written in here.
And she has 4 pages of details of what's happening to her and her young child. Now, they do these things toward children, torture them. That's a woman and her young child being tortured. Now, remember that woman that was talking about V2K and how V2K is the manipulation of thoughts and this and and then talk about the pedophilia type of torture. This is the woman talking about the kids she was teaching.
I am currently a speech-language pathologist working in private practice with young children. I had a 7-year-old client who has autism.
She talks about her 7-year-old client with autism, and this is what's happening to her.
And had been making incredible. They would make the kids act out the torture that would later be done on me, as they often do. One day she had a large, severe bite mark on her arm.
They have the ability to manipulate you to do things. For me, they make me bite my like in my mouth. They can make me bite my tongue. They haven't made me bite myself completely, but they make me bite like my inner cheek, like my in my mouth, or do things with my tongue, to bite my tongue. But here, the ability is greater than what they've applied onto me. I know that they can. That's why I'm always paranoid. If I experience something that I don't usually experience, I always wonder, like, is there something they just upgraded to? Because I know that they can do much more than what they do to me in regard to manipulations. So I expect some level of manipulation that will be to another level that I haven't experienced yet. So I'm always on the high alert. When I see something coming off, I double check, like, is that them or is that like normal? Because I know they can take it to another level, and they've shown me a level once that is so crazy. The most impressive manipulation I've experienced is one of my perceptions. When I saw this black plastic bag falling down from the air, for 2 seconds, for actually less than 2 seconds, in less than a second, it looked like a car was falling off the building, like the black plastic bag turned into a car. That's because they have the ability to manipulate my perceptions to that level. So I know they can really crank up these manipulations, and that maybe at one point will make me hallucinate, because I think they're very close to doing that. But what they've done lately a lot is just changing the perception of something, like creating a different version of seeing something, and distorting what I'm seeing. But they can create if they can create a plastic bag into a car in your mind for a quick second, imagine what they can do when it's like not as extreme, but just creating some different perception, a distorted perception. It's incredible. Not only they can make you perceive something different, but they can literally distort what you see. But listen to what they do to the 7-year-old.
She has also grabbed her crotch, saying, "Ow," and this was used to threaten me with severe sexual torture.
Sexually torturing children. Now, this is something that I've experienced. You're going to hear some more testimonials where they do these things where you can feel some pain in your testicle area or in your private area. And so they do that to a 7-year-old autistic child.
One day I also observed her gasping for air a few times in the same way that I do when I am being more severely suffocated.
Suffocating, gasping for air. They've done that to me, where my lungs were restricted, and it felt like my lungs were like I couldn't like breathe. And so this is something they've done to me many times. No, well, not many times, multiple times, not many. Especially early on, I would wake up and I could feel my lungs not really like getting air, like I was suffocating. So they've done that to me.
The suffocation had been in a mild state for a while up until this point. Many of their torture methods are cyclical in severity. Right after I saw this child being suffocated, then I began to experience very extreme suffocation all.
So you keep hearing the suffocation of a 7-year-old autistic child. Right? As I was hearing that, this perps trying to counter the reality of this being a developing of a weapon, developing of weapons, of technology, and they're using us as test subjects, as guinea pigs. And they try to make it sound like it's anything else, but they're like, no, we are at war. It's war. They like to create these fantasies, not war. We're just guinea pigs. with test subjects. It's like me being in a lab working with like guinea pigs and looking at guinea pigs. We are war. We are war. They use childlike individuals who can create all kind of like delusionality of like of reality. As I'm saying that, I'm pressing my phone just a little bit there as I'm listening to these clips, and they try to create this nasty stimulation that's like then rewired to like thinking about children. They do this nasty manipulation of the brain. They're literally rewiring your brain. But listen to what they do to a 4-year-old and a 5-year-old.
Every day for about 2 months straight, and that's also when they made it worse when I eat. Then I also work with a 4-year-old little girl with Down syndrome, as well as her 5-year-old sister, who also had.
Now we're talking about a 4-year-old and a 5-year-old, both of them having Down syndrome.
Down syndrome. I observed both of these girls suddenly grabbing their genitals in pain and verbalizing, "Ow."
Sexual torture on a 4 and 5-year-old girls with Down syndrome. This is the kind of things they do to children. As I'm saying that, they try to make me think of what I did as a kid in middle school to counter this thing that you just heard. Now listen to this.
I observed this at least on 1 or 2 occasions for each of them during their separate sessions.
Now she's going to talk about 3-year-old.
During one session, I observed one of my 3-year-old clients suddenly grab his crotch and lean forward in his chair. And then he made a frightening grimace of severe pain. I asked him what was wrong and if he needed to use the restroom, but he said no.
Sexually torturing a 3-year-old. What this little boy went through is what they do to me sometimes. They do this pains to the genitals. But imagine a 3-year-old having to deal with this nastiness. So you understand they do horrible things to kids, and the reason why is because they use men, women, and children. If I'm saying that, they try to turn in some disturbing things. Men, women, and children as test subjects. Because as this man said here, this is a program that's run by governmental entities to develop technology.
8 billion brains on the planet, potentially. Read that. Or where the Chinese government were evil aliens, were Satan's, satanic ritual abuse, and I've heard all these stories. One guy believed it was some 14-year-old kid with an Xbox that lived next door. The trickery really is that great when you're under hypnosis that people will believe.
So they try to trick you that this thing is anything else but what it is. And you hear that they have the ability to make you think in these ways. They have full capability to manipulate your thoughts. They have full capability to make you think in ways that you will not think naturally. That's why these women say V2K, the ability to not only project voices but manipulate thoughts, which is what they do to me. And they're like, no, what we're doing, we're mind reading, what was the game? What's the word? A mind research or something, like just make it seem like they just find this in my brain. When the truth is they have been manipulating my mind, my memories, my thoughts. I don't no longer experience anything organically. And this is obviously run by these governmental entities. These massive government entities that are obviously related to the DoD. Because the technology they use from this neurotechnology that can do so much to you, this is things that you can see in DARPA website. Voice to Skull, this is a defense technology, defense weapon. Memory manipulation. DARPA has been working on this for a while in ways to read and write memories. Now listen to these issues with the DoD.
Has come under investigation for links to the proliferation of graphic material called Project Flickr. Some 5,000 individuals have been identified as having subscriptions to child porn sites, including many DoD affiliated persons. So this ongoing national investigation has now prompted the House to introduce a bipartisan bill that would help the DoD stop the use of its network to, quote, possess, procure, or produce child pornography. Joining us to discuss this, investigative journalist Ben Swan. So Ben, the Pentagon already takes measures to limit worker access to stuff like porn by rolling out what they call the Personal Electronic Device PED policy, where workers have to drop off their phones and lockers before entering their offices. All their online searches are accessible by security if or when needed. Their Wi-Fi access is monitored in digital security suites. So how is this happening?
Well, it's happening because even though there is a certain amount of limitation on access, those who are working in the Department of Defense, clearly it appears to be thousands of individuals in the Department of Defense, are finding ways around this, specifically by using the Department of Defense IP addresses and also apparently peer-to-peer sharing within the department's network. So this study that was done on this issue, and it is pretty horrifying, Manila, to consider this. It shows that the Department of Defense ranked 19th out of almost 3,000 networks in terms of peer-to-peer sharing of child pornography. That is absolutely incredible. This bill attempts to essentially say, look, we're not doing enough to stop it from coming in.
And so it goes on, but if you need a recap or summary of what's just been said, is that the Department of Defense network was ranked in 2018 as 19th out of 2,900. And this has been done consistently, ranking in that level, at that top tier level. And the DoD network we're talking about for sharing child porn within the network. As I'm saying child porn, they do something in my tongue to disturb me. Sharing child porn so much that they're ranked out of 2,900 networks in the United States. They are number 19. 19 out of 2,900, and the specific number is 2,891 networks in regard to sharing child porn. The volume of child porn circulating within this DoD network. Now, they tell me how they're going to frame me in playing child porn. They are working for these entities where child porn is such an issue that the ranking came from Child Protective Services, ranking this DoD network as 19th out of 2,900 for sharing child porn. And these entities work for these individuals. This program is run by this Department of Defense entity. And you have people who are involved in this program where they are ran and they are contracted by this Department of Defense agencies, where they're telling me how they're going to implant child porn, knowing that the Department of Defense, they're contracted, their contractors have problem child pornography, so much so that Child Protective Services is ranking them as 19th out of 2,900. As I'm saying that, I'm hearing these perps living next door or around, yelling on top of their lungs, yelling as loud as they can to disorient me from saying this obvious issue, that these people are truly ran by pedophiles or entities where there's a lot of pedophilia. So much so they are ranked top tier in regard of sharing child porn. They tell me how they wait for me, how I'm gonna be framed by people who are gonna frame me by implanting child porn or saying that these children around me are gonna say that I did something to them. These people are truly groomed by pedophiles. So this is something I keep bringing up all the time, and I feel like I need to bring that up all the time. To never let this them try to make me say something I didn't want to say. To never let them, they let this bottom feeder live this fantasy. They are trash, lowlife, who've sold their soul to pedophiles and are being groomed. Some of them are grooming these children by these pedophiles. Tell me how they're gonna implant child porn when the entities they work for have so much issue with child porn that the Child Protective Service is ranking them as 19th out of 2,900 for sharing that much of child porn. In every way possible, this is why I'm so thankful to God that I didn't involve myself doing what these people do and find myself trying to counter what I'm saying by yelling at the top of my voice to stop individuals from pointing out the reality of what these bottom feeders are part of. To all my target individual, stay strong.